Hi everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul. Today we have a special guest in the studio. It's JJ from ASUS. How's it going?
Doing all right, boss. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm doing great too, and today we have a little test bed set up right here, but we're actually talking about that new monitor over there on the left, which is the ASUS VG278HE. And this is a 3D monitor from ASUS, supports NVIDIA 3D Vision. It has a really high refresh rate. Now you guys came out with a monitor that had a 120 hertz refresh rate, which is at least the minimum required for 3D.
Yeah. Well, for the best 3D experience,
for
you can actually
3D.
you can actually have a different refresh rate for different types of 3D types of panel implementations. But specifically for NVIDIA 3D Vision, part of their key technology has been to support an active type of 3D technology, and that's best suited to a 120 hertz.
So what was the impetus behind jumping up to 144 hertz, which is what this monitor now supports?
That's pretty much just because we could do it. There wasn't really a there wasn't really, let's say, I'd say a specific need. In most situations, like there are with gamer-centric technologies, there's always demand for users that are asking for better and better experience. And part of the feedback that we had from gamers, as well as from NVIDIA, through the development process of the 3D Vision panels, which we've been a consistent launch partner in from their first generation panel to the second generation panel to now this third generation panel, has been to continue to improve the gameplay performance experience. And part of that is adding, of course, the immersive aspect that you get within 3D Vision, actually playing games in 3D. But a larger proponent to it is just when you're talking about using a monitor in a 2D scape, and just playing games on it, going from 60 hertz to 120 hertz provides actually a very different tactile, a kinesthetic experience that you can actually feel when you're gaming. The movement of the windows, your actual motions as you're moving through from one point of the, let's say, a map to another point of the map. You're making sharp movements in, let's say, first-person shooters, anything like that. You're going to feel a far more fluid and responsive environment under a 120 hertz panel than you would with, let's say, a 60 hertz panel. And so with our focus saying, can we extend that to even further, we decided to see what we could do, and that came with, of course, the release now of this monitor, which is enabling 144. So with 144, we're pretty much just continuing to push up that envelope, especially for users that have the highest quality graphics cards that are on the market, that provide the highest level of frame rate performance. They're going to be able to take advantage of those graphics cards with high levels of VSync enabled, and be able to have that, not only that high screen performance playback in terms of things like maintaining vertical sync enabled, but also by having that high level of frame rate so that they get the kind of the best of both worlds.
So one use case for this monitor might be to use it in 3D, as previously mentioned, in which case you would use the NVIDIA Shutter glasses. You'd use the NVIDIA 3D Vision 2 kit, which they have available. And what that would give you is essentially 77 hertz for each eye. Another method that I have just recently heard for the use of the high refresh rate monitors is not to use it in 3D, but actually just to use it as a really high refresh rate monitor. So if you have a high quality graphics card that can push, say, 144 frames per second in the game that you're playing, you can actually get that frame rate actively with VSync turned on, and it just leads to an incredibly fluid and smooth gameplay experience.
Correct, yeah. I mean, even minor things where you might be in-game and you're going from, like I said, panning from, let's say, an area where you're looking at the foreground to then where you have to really kind of sharply turn maybe to your aft or to the back. You're going to actually have less tearing. It's going to feel overall more fluid. It's going to feel more responsive, especially for users that also have high DPI mice, which have a high level of sensitivity and polling rates. It's kind of the best combination of being able to give you the best level of response between that input device and then what you're also seeing on the screen. In very kind of a similar way where users were making upgrades from, let's say, mechanical-based storage devices to solid-state storage devices, which gave you a different response time experience, you're getting that same level of improved experience at what's being rendered and put on screen. And it's like I said, it's noticeable in little things and even in big things. Things like when just you're expanding windows, you're double-clicking on them and going to a large screen, going to a smaller screen, dragging from one side to the other, or like I said, within a game environment, you're going to have a faster and more responsive experience.
So you get a lot more nuance involved when you're going with a higher refresh rate monitor. In case anyone is wondering how to set that up, and I've just switched it back to 60 hertz just so I can show you guys, but it's pretty easy to get to. Just right click on the desktop, Go to screen resolution, that will pull up your typical screen resolution. Go to the advanced settings and you'll have a monitor tab, and under here, if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card right now, you can go up to 144 Hertz. From my understanding, AMD cards right now can also do up to 120 Hertz.
Correct.
And from the refresh rate drop down right here, you'll notice we have much higher refresh rates, whatever is supported by the monitor. Jump up to 144 Hertz, hit OK, and then we're now displaying 144 Hertz. And we're recording at 30 frames per second. YouTube will drop everything down to 30 frames per second, so there's really no way for us to show you guys how smooth this looks. But anyway, that's like the most fun thing that you do once you get a really high refresh rate monitor. You just take the window and like, oh my gosh, look how smooth it is.
A couple of points to consider is that one, you do need to make sure and maintain a dual link DVI interface to be able to support this. Well, this monitor does support the HDMI specification, which is great, so you can pass audio and video over at 1080p and still get a great experience from this panel. You're going to want to be able to have the DVI connection, which is included. It's in the box, so all you need to do is just make sure to connect that to a GTX series card, 400 series and above, which would enable that support for the 140 Hertz technology, as well as that, of course, would allow you to enable the 3D vision support as well.
And if you happen to be rolling with a 600 series cards, one of the new ones from NVIDIA, this goes hand in hand with Adaptive VSync because it allows you to play at a higher frame rate when possible. But if you do happen to come into a situation where there's a lot more action happening on screen and your frame rate does dip, it's not going to have to cut the frame rate in half every time it drops below the intended refresh rate of 140.
Correct, and that helps to maintain the overall gameplay experience. And just like you also said, in the same vein, that if you're using a high-performance GPU, so like the latest GTX 600 series cards, you know, 660 Ti, 670, 680, 690, taking advantage of the 3D panel aspect as well is also going to give you a whole nother level of gameplay performance where you're actually going to be able to keep that high frame rate while also being able to keep a high level of image quality in terms of that immersive gameplay. Because definitely when you're going into a 3D gameplay environment, you do need a high performance GPU to be able to maintain the high level of image quality, high quality image quality settings, and then the high resolution. But that's kind of one of the big advantages, especially on the PC platform compared to the console platform. No consoles can do 3D at greater than 60 frames a second. So here you can actually have a much more kind of immersive experience. It's much more fluid, especially on a PC platform when you're talking about 3D based gaming. And working in conjunction with the 3D Vision 2 technology where you got that light boost really helps to undercut a lot of the issues that some users had maybe with the first generation panel, which was, it was definitely crisp, clear, sharp, but you know, it dimmed it down a little bit. So here you get the kind of that nice compromise of it's getting all those benefits of 3D, but while still keeping it bright.
All right, so whether you guys are interested in 3D gameplay or really high frame rate gameplay, which adds just, like we said, a smoothness, especially with if you're doing FPS games, if you're doing RTS games, anything where response time is incredibly important, and the faster you can see something and take action on it, the better. It really gives you enhanced gameplay and an increased performance, gives you that little bit of extra edge.
You actually brought up one last point that I did want to mention there. For users that are still actually actively interested in FPS-based gaming, some of the titles that are out there might not necessarily be centered around a widescreen aspect ratio. Some monitors that are out there, even that are quote-unquote gaming monitors, might force the actual 4:3 aspect ratio to be stretched out on the screen, and this sometimes doesn't give you like a correct field of view on your screen. It can mess up your HUD, and it kind of distracts a little bit from the gaming experience. So we do actually have special options within the monitor itself that can allow you to force a correct 4:3 aspect ratio if that's the way that the game was designed, and then that can give you the ability to, of course, maintain the correct focus and sharpness for the actual field of view as well as the monitor. Especially as that we focus this for gamers out there. So for the guys that are interested, definitely it's still playing games that are in that type of environment, like Counter-Strike, you know, just launched Global Offensive, got things like that. It's going to allow you to have that flexibility.
And is that something you'd access just via the on-screen menu?
Correct. It's accessible just like it is for like our Splendid-based technology, which allows you to have different presets for different image quality settings, like, you know, sRGB or scenery or gaming mode, you know, different things like that. You can go in there and you can just adjust between automatic widescreen adjustment to a forced 4:3.
Excellent. All right. Well, once again, guys, this is the Asus VG278HE, I need to make sure I get that right. VG278HE, 144 hertz refresh rate monitor for 3D.
First 144 hertz.
The first 144 hertz refresh rate monitor supports NVIDIA 3D Vision as well as 3D gaming, as well as really high frame rate gaming. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. This has been JJ from ASUS. You can see more of our videos on youtube.com/Newegg. You can see more of JJ on youtube.com/ASUSROG. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.